Now, I have two stories to go over on this stream, but my most recent video was about how immoral dog culture in general is, right? You know, our current state. In this video, I talked about this video right here, titled Dogs Are the Number One Menace to American Communities, which they are. And you notice that nobody is doing anything about it. Okay, I chose the wrong thumbnail. I have to change that later. Nobody's doing anything about it. Nobody's saying anything. They won't even run news reports or have news specials. A couple media outlets here in Ohio did last month or a couple months ago or whatever. That was it. Nothing is getting done, and nothing is really even being said. The most that they've done is change the law, that worthless change to Ohio laws that they made, which is worthless. And it does not serve to stop attacks. Attacks like this. This surfaced 16 hours ago. It's just yet another story, another report, another senseless incident that could have been avoided.
Tonight, we're hearing from a father in Muskegon after two of his kids were attacked by a vicious dog on Friday. We're told the children are recovering from extensive surgeries at Helen DeVos. The father provided us pictures, but we want to warn you, they may be disturbing to some viewers. 5-year-old Wyatt Ketchum and 4-year-old Elijah Jackson were being babysat by family in Muskegon Friday. On the couch, watching TV, their guardian supposedly went up to finish some laundry. That's when two dogs, both Staffordshire Terriers, one a Husky mix, attacked Wyatt, the oldest child. In the chaos, both boys ended up with severe wounds on the face, arms, and legs, one of the boys having nearly his entire ear bitten off.
Now, these injuries are hard to look at. They're hard to look at. And, you know, it doesn't motivate lawmakers to make any changes. So, what does that mean? That means this country, morally, is at an all-time low and has been for a while. I want y'all to listen to the father. This is probably the craziest thing about this story, right? Listen to the father.
The dogs were known to be aggressive, according to the father, but it kept in kennels and away from young children. The boy's father says, as a dog owner himself, it's forcing him to consider some tough decisions ahead.
It's to the point I'm about ready to just give up everything, and so that way I stay home with the kids. I don't know who I can trust with my kids. I don't know. You trust to your family. Now, because of this, how do I trust anything? That's my problem. It's like,
What is he talking about? What is he talking about? Give up everything? What are you talking about? I don't know what he's talking about. Now, I suspect he had somebody babysitting for him so that he could go to work. I'm not sure, but that's what I suspect. He needed a babysitter so that he could go to work. And what he's talking about giving up is what? Your job? That doesn't even make sense. Why don't you just find a babysitter without dogs? He left his boys at a residence where there were 2 pit bulls. You don't think that has something to do with it? You don't think you could just change that part and get better results? Have a safer place for your boys to stay? After all, the only problem here was what? The dogs. So why not, before you quit your job, why don't you try removing dogs from the environment? You know why he won't do that? Because he's a pit bull owner himself.
That's my problem. It's going to be like a big issue, and now my kids are going to be affected for the rest of their lives now.
Start talking about. He doesn't even make sense. Gotta give up everything to stay at home with my kids. How about you just get rid of your pit bulls? That way you stop traumatizing them because they've been traumatized, especially after this. That's the first step. How you should respond to this is simple. I don't know what you're so confused about. Don't quit your job. Get rid of your pit bulls and don't get any more dogs at all. First step. Second step, stop leaving your boys at people's homes who own pit bulls. Is that really that difficult? Yes, it is. You know why? Because he values the flipping dogs more. He refuses to get rid of his dogs, and he refuses to only use or work with babysitters without dogs. That's what it sounds like to me. You want to stay at home with your boys and your dogs. How you going to pay rent? How you going to pay your bills if you give up everything? How does that make sense? So you look at these non-reactions, these non-responses of the guardians, and you understand we are at an all-time low. He refuses to get rid of these dogs. He refuses to be an anti-dog person. This scenario should have you as a father against these things. Should be a sign for you, like I said, to get rid of your pit bulls, get rid of your dogs and never acquire more, and to avoid babysitters with dogs as well. But he doesn't value his sons that much. That's what I personally believe. What else should we believe? That is insane. And actually what it sounds like this guy wants his sons to be surrounded by these killers. That's exactly why he has one himself. And that's why he wants his boys to be around these mutants while he's at work. Now, I salute men who are single fathers. It's a tough job. But I don't salute this. I condemn this. You endangering these boys. What are they going to think now? Here it is, you got a pit bull yourself. What are you going to do when they are reluctant to be around your dogs? What are you going to do then? Are you going to talk to them as if they have a mental disorder? Are you going to try to coach them to trust these things anyway? Of course you are. The boys get sent to the hospital. They start that process at the hospital. It's at the hospital where the doctors tell you to be sure to take the kid around more dogs as soon as possible. And so that xenophobia doesn't set in. It doesn't get any worse than this. When the people are at an all-time low, it always involves them, the adults, knowingly and willingly sacrificing the life and well-being of their young. That is ultimately what you are supposed to live life for. The life and well-being of those that come after you. That's the ultimate test of a nation's morality. How do they treat the younger generation? How are they setting up the younger generation? What's their relationship with the future? Nothing is more important than grooming the younger generation, because the younger generation is the future. And in this country, the culture is to sacrifice their life and well-being, their safety. The culture in this country is to traumatize them, to make them feel worthless, to make them feel far less valuable than dogs. That's the culture in this country. That's a country at an all-time moral low. I don't even have to mention other things like racism. I don't even have to mention that. For me to conclude that this country morally is at an all-time low. Just that alone. And I'm saying this country because all other countries are at least responding to these attacks, especially on the youth. But the attacks here in the United States surpass the attacks in other countries. This is the worst country on earth for dog attacks. Yet, we respond the least. We act like it's not even a problem, where at least these other countries acknowledge it and point out that it's a problem, and actually they are doing things, more things than the United States. We are at an all-time low, and nobody talks about it. Couldn't even show all of these photos. Like, I don't like to see babies and toddlers mutilated. It like messes me up. It's just, I can't even really explain it, because it's like something you're not supposed to see. It's not supposed to happen at all, under no circumstance. I mean, accidents, you can't prevent accidents, but even with accident, I don't want to see that, because youngsters are not supposed to be harmed. They're supposed to be the most protected demographic in the country. the most protected, yet they're the most vulnerable. They're the least protected. Everybody's just okay with it. In fact, they have made it their culture. And they're saying, hey, it's bad for the youngsters to avoid these killers. Yeah, you are at an all-time moral low. There was another story. This surfaced recently. Again, this was posted here on YouTube 17 hours ago. But there was another one, and I mentioned this, I touched on this briefly. This was uploaded a day ago. But back when this first happened, I talked about it. There were no videos of the victim at the time. There was just an article, a news article with no photos. So this is sort of an update. Now I want y'all to listen to this.
A Jacksonville grandmother is on the road to recovery weeks after being attacked by her dog. Her grandchildren say that road was not the easiest. Both of her legs had to be amputated.
If it took saving her life for her to have to lose her legs,
it should have took getting rid of the dogs. No dogs, no fight to break up, no leg amputation. Real simple. What is an 81-year-old doing living alone with dogs anyways? Remember my great-grandmother. She lived in the rural areas of Tuscaloosa, Alabama. Every time I went over to my great-grandmother's home, there was a bunch of people there at all times. There was always someone there. Her husband was always there, but there were always grandchildren, children, friends of the family. Because when people get that old, they need more protection. All this lady had was a couple dogs? Because the idea of an 81-year-old trying to break up a dog fight, people, that's ridiculous. It's not something an 81-year-old man should be doing, let alone a woman. But let's continue. You're breaking up a dog fight, really?
Her name is Benny Byers. She is 81. The attack happened when she tried to break up a fight between two of her dogs, and one turned on her. News4Jax reporter Khalil Maycock joins us live in the studio. Khalil, the family says they're glad Byers is trying to remain positive.
Her grandchildren say the 81-year-old has shown tremendous resilience throughout this ordeal, and it's because of love and faith that have been getting her through this difficult time.
What got her into this difficult time is what we need to be talking about. What got you into this predicament? Being a dog owner. That's what. It's what? So why can't we talk about how important it is to not be a dog owner, huh? What's the problem with that? You would do it if this were anything else. You would say, hey, avoid this. But because it's dogs, well, let's just talk about her recovery.
You actually got to lean forward to
This is video of a physical and occupational therapist helping Benny Byers in the hospital. The 81-year-old is now having to relearn how to navigate life after tragedy struck.
Did go ahead and do the double amputation below the knee.
Brandon Byers is Benny's grandson. He says the amputation happened days after she was attacked by her pit bull, Chebron. Earlier this month, we told you the 81-year-old was taken to the hospital with 2 fractured legs. It happened after Benny was trying to break up a fight between Chebron and 2 of her other dogs.
I know y'all caught that. I know y'all noticed that. I know y'all caught that. What do y'all think about that? They made sure to refer to the dog using its name, its so-called name. Remember, they only do that when they want the readers or the listeners to have an emotional connection with the dog. They are taught to do this in college. Always mention the dog's name so that the listeners, so that the readers make an emotional connection with the dog. It instantly humanizes the dog. And when we think of dogs as humans, what kind of humans do we think of them as? Babies. So how can you be upset with a baby that doesn't know any better? In the news report, they are running a dog defense campaign, and they do this with every report. That's a nation at an all-time low. We went from toddlers to the elderly, an 81-year-old woman. 2 of the most vulnerable demographics in the country that are supposed to be the most protected. They end up like this, and nobody, and I mean nobody, holds dogs up to scrutiny. You don't hear anybody talking about dogs in a negative way. Not even a negative discussion about dogs takes place after these types of tragedies. That is a people who are in their hearts at an all-time moral low. You are at ground zero. And that's the scary part. It's in the hearts and minds, in the spirit of the people. Our all-time low is mentally and spiritually. These are the hardest to shake off.
Now having to relearn how to navigate life after tragedy struck.
Did go ahead and do the double amputation below the knee.
Brandon Byers is Benny's grandson. He says the amputation happened days after she was attacked by her pit bull, Chebron. Earlier this month, we told you the 81-year-old was taken to the hospital with 2 fractured legs. It happened after Benny was trying to break up a fight between Chebron and 2 of her other dogs. That's when Chebron turned on her. And Benny's grandchildren say their grandmother having her legs amputated has been a huge adjustment for everyone. Benny can no longer do any of her favorite activities like running or walking, but she's trying to keep everything in perspective.
She is always very positive. There are times where, she's not in the best of moods, but she's human.
Benny's granddaughter says the 80.
I think it's kind of childish. I think it's kind of childish to talk about this 81-year-old lady as if she is in good spirits. Nobody wants to live out the remainder of their life like that, with no legs. You make it to 81 years old, and at that point, you find out that you're going to go the rest of your life with no legs. Don't nobody want to go through that. She don't have no choice but to be happy at times. What other option does she have?
81-year-old has been leaning on her faith, which has helped her make light of her current situation.
Something came on the TV and it was like this machine that allows you to move your feet sitting down. And so she said, Chaz, look at that. I want that. And so I looked up at it and I said, well, Grandma, you don't have any feet anymore. And she just chuckled.
And her grandchildren say Benny loves to dance.
Okay. I'm not feeling that vibe right now. Not feeling that at all. Yeah, this is ridiculous. Look at our pathetic responses to these tragedies. And it looks like this lady has family. You hear her nieces talking, her nephews talking. She has family. So where were they? Why does she need dogs? Well, she's older and she needs protection. No. You don't get protection that could potentially attack you. And if it does attack you, it's a wrap for you. Even at 81 years old, you better trust a house alarm. You better trust a ratchet or two. Yeah, that's what you do. You don't get no lethal beast with a brain. And she had more than one. Sitting up in there with two. Remember, people, remember the facts. According to these experts, they say if you have two dogs, you increase your chances of being attacked by like what, 100%. It's like something crazy. The chances of you being attacked as the owner increases as well as the chances that those things attack someone else. It doubles or triples when you include more than one dog. And she up inside the home with two bully breeds. People are just not thinking. People's brains just not being used at all. What's going on with people? I don't know if it's drug abuse or what, but something is going on. People just naturally are not this dumb. They are not this anti themselves. Most definitely, this is brainwashery we're dealing with. Whenever you got a group of people operating against their own best interest, something is wrong.
So since she can't use her feet anymore, she's learned to adapt using her upper body.
And so sometimes if the music come on, an old Al Green or something, she got this new dance that she's doing in her shoulders.
And throughout this road to recovery, Benny's grandchildren say her church family, like the Kitchens and her former students, have helped make this process easier.
No. I don't want to hear about a shoulder dance either. I mean, what I would like to hear from the family, at the very least, is how important it is to get these things out of your house and never bring them into your house, never own them, period. Is that too much to ask? He said nothing against these dogs. I mean, this happened because she owned these things. You can't, none of you can bring yourselves to say, hey, think twice before you keep these things as pets. I don't care if you're using them for protection or whatever you're using them for. They will turn on you at the drop of a dime, even if it's your dogs. How come we're not listening to a lecture like that? How come that is not what is being said by even her family members? Instead, we're getting these goofy stories about how the lady is dancing in a wheelchair. what's important in y'all's mind right now? That's what y'all think we should focus on right now? These boys get mutilated and traumatized, and you up here daydreaming, fantasizing and babbling, talking about quitting your job so you can stay home. You ain't gonna have no home if you just sitting at home and quit your job, dude. You ain't gonna have no home to stay with your kids. You have to go to work. He couldn't even bring himself to be realistic. And just like the other party, he said nothing against dogs, nothing against the ownership of these things. That's something that they have been conditioned and brainwashed to dare not do. Don't you ever speak against the ownership of these things. I don't care what type of tragedy results from the ownership of these things. Dog culture is you always defend these mutants and never speak against the ownership of. That is sick. That is a morally disgusting culture. How twisted these scenarios are needs to be articulated in as many ways as possible. Because everybody needs to have a strong understanding of how sick dog culture is. Nobody can tell me this is not important. You got to get rid of this way of thinking where you just dare not. I mean, they are more loyal to dogs than they are to their religions. So, without question, this represents an all-time moral low for humans. Really can't make this up. Shout out to all of you able to join me for this live stream. Happy Monday. And I hope you can join me on the next as we continue with this crusade.